Alright there guys, and welcome back to another video. Now, just under a year ago, on May the 4th be with you last year, I ranked the 9 mainline Star Wars movies, from worst to best. Just under a year later, this time round we're going to be ranking the 5 movies from the other insanely popular franchise created by George Lucas that, just like with Star Wars, was butchered to hell by Disney. Today we are going to be ranking every Indiana Jones movie from worst to best. Let's go. Coming in the number 5 spot is Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull from 2008. I know what you're thinking. A certain other Indiana Jones movie should be ranked down here at the bottom. But it isn't. And I'll explain why. So I really don't think this is a very good movie at all. The only bits I really like of this movie is the warehouse at the beginning. All of the stuff in the warehouse is cool, especially the little bit it shows where the box with the Ark of the Covenant in is a nice little reference to the first movie. I also think that the fight between Indy and that Soviet soldier before he gets eaten by like all those ants, I liked that. But apart from really that was it. I mean, Mutt Williams is an interesting character, being Indiana Jones' son, but when Shia LaBeouf's most well-known thing is for going, just do it, instead of the movies he's been in, kinda tells you everything you need to know there. Don't particularly find this a great movie. This movie did not need to exist, but it does. And that's why it comes in at number 5. Coming in at the number 4 spot is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny from 2023. That's right. Told you it wouldn't be far away. Now, the only reason why this movie is above Crystal Skull is the opening 20 to 30 minutes of it. The whole part of the movie that's set in World War II, I absolutely love that scene. Like, the opening to this movie is actually fantastic. It's just a shame that nothing else about the movie is any good. The little kid they have that starts tagging along with Indy and Helena. Helena is insufferable, my god. What a downgrade of a character we've had from Indy to her. The little kid that hangs around with those two, they tried to make like another short round type of character. Doesn't work. Then there's the whole time travelling aspect, which is very odd. I do like how the present day part of the movie is set in 1969, specifically on the celebration of Moon Landing Day. I thought that was a cool premise for the present day sections of the movie. I do also like how they at least gave us some clarity on what happens to Mutt, since he's obviously not in the movie, and that he died fighting in a war, which Indy didn't really care about him going to, and regrets it and wish he had cared a bit more about Mutt going. The villain, Jurgen Voller, he's a pretty nothing villain. Even the fact he's played by Mads Mikkelsen, even that doesn't help his case. But yeah, the time travel aspect made no sense, especially for a movie that's present day is set in at the end of the 60s. Yeah, Crystal Skull was a terrible movie. So was this. But because of the entire World War II portion of this movie, that's why it just jumps above Crystal Skull in at number 4. Coming in at the number 3 spot is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, released in 1984. This was actually my favourite Indiana Jones movie when I was younger. And nothing's really changed. I haven't grown to dislike this movie more. It's just I've grown to like the other two movies above this more. That's why this is now down at number 3. The thing I don't like about this movie the most is probably Willie. She's just kind of an annoying character. Her Chinese song at the beginning of the movie, I quite liked that, but overall she's really not a great character. She's very much the damsel in distress type of character. And her screaming is quite annoying as well. I mean, her screaming's so bad, they literally made it her signature ability in the Lego Indiana Jones games. Traveller's Tales even knew themselves how annoying her scream was, so they decided to make it a literal ability for her. Short Round, what an incredible character. Definitely one of the best companions Indy has ever had across the 5 movies. He's funny. The way he talks is endearing, and he can handle himself as well. The villain of Temple of Doom, Molaram, is by far the most menacing villain in the whole franchise. He is way more menacing than the rest of the villains put together. I mean, and he runs a satanic cult underneath Pankot Palace, the satanic cult of the Thuggee, which supposedly hadn't existed for centuries, but really, it was still around, just below the surface, quite literally. Indy pretending to being turned evil for a little bit after drinking some blood, but then Shorty using a torch, burning Indy to turn him back to normal. The fight with that guy, that really big thuggy guy, and how Indy was getting stabbed with a voodoo doll of himself, which Pirates of the Caribbean definitely took inspiration from with On Stranger Tides. The minecart scenes were really damn cool as well. I really liked those. The final fight with the bridge with the bridge fight with Molaram. I mean, that scene is so iconic. It's been done in other things. Like Uncharted 2 literally had a bridge collapsing part, which was absolutely a reference to the Temple of Doom movie bridge fight scene. And then Molaram being defeated by the very things he stole from the village that Indy was wanting to get those 3 stones for to come back. Turns out the village only ever needed 1 stone, because that's all Indy was able to bring back. The other 2 fell into the chasm of water, as did Molaram after he failing to rip out Indy's heart, and if the fall didn't kill him, the crocodiles eating him certainly did. And that's why Temple of Doom comes in at number 3. Coming into the number 2 spot is Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark from 1981. That's right, the original, most people's favourite Indiana Jones movie. For me, it comes in at number 2. I wasn't I liked this movie when I was younger, but I wasn't the super huge fan of it. I've grown to like it a lot more as I've gotten older. And it's the villains are not the greatest. Belloc is an interesting villain, considering he's an archaeologist, just like Indy, so he's an evil version of Indy, and tries to convince Indy that the two of them are actually a lot more similar. One slight difference: Indy did not get in bed with the Nazis to look for the Ark of the Covenant. Belloc very much did. It's the movie where we're introduced to Marion, and I like Marion. She's kind of like the damsel in distress type of character like Willie, but she can handle herself when needs be, such as when she knocked that guy out with that frying pan she had. All the desert scenes in Cairo, I really like them, especially when the iconic scene of Indy shooting that swordsman in the face. That scene was actually supposed to be a lot longer than it was, but Harrison Ford happened to have diarrhea on the day they filmed that scene, so instead of it being like a proper fight scene, Indy just pulls out his gun and shoots the guy, which, if you think about it, which probably works out better than whatever else they had planned originally for that scene. And we have Salah. He might be the best companion character in the whole franchise for Indy. Salah is so cool. And he always has Indy's back. And he only appears in every odd-numbered Indiana Jones movie, as do the Nazis. They only appear in every odd-numbered movie as well. Two common themes with the odd-numbered Indiana Jones movies. But the ending is downright terrifying. If when you're a kid, like, how the hell they got to stick all of that into a PG-13 movie, I'll never know, but they did somehow. It's still a scary scene now, but it was a lot scarier when you're a kid watching that for the first time. Like, oh my god. And the whole melting, Major Toad's face melting off. Like, yeah, it was a crazy ending. But yeah, it only comes in at number 2 because I like the next movie just a tiny bit more. And coming in at the number 1 spot is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, released in 1989. I love this movie. This movie is utterly fantastic. And it closes out the trilogy with perfection. It literally has the perfect ending to the trilogy. Which is why the 4th and 5th movies really did not need to exist, because the 3rd movie already capped off the trilogy perfectly. The story being about heavily delving heavily into Indy's like backstory and relationship with his father. How the movie literally starts with a young Indiana Jones back in 1912, and how we see what Indy was like. I mean, it would have been cool to see what Indy was doing during World War One, because he was around then. Because we got to see what he was like doing in World War Two in Dial of Destiny. So it would have been cool if they gave us like some insight into what he did during World War One as well, but they didn't. We see that Indy and his father have a pretty cold relationship. They don't really see eye to eye on many things. And who better to play Indiana Jones' father than the original James Bond himself, Sean Connery? Because if you didn't know, the way Indiana Jones was created as a character and a franchise in the first place was Steven Spielberg wanted to direct a James Bond movie. So that is how he originally came up with the idea of Indiana Jones. Originally he was going to be called Indiana Smith, which that just doesn't have the same ring to it. Despite the fact that's my last name, it doesn't have the same ring to it as Indiana Jones, does it? And also, Sean Connery plays Henry Jones so well. Crazy that on Halloween this year, it'll have been 5 years. 5 since Sean Connery passed away. Already nearly 5 years. It's so sad, isn't it? R.I.P. to such a legendary actor. But yeah, because he's so much... I mean, Sean Connery's always used to be playing the hero, the one that's kicking ass. But with Henry, he has to play someone a little bit different, who's not particularly strong. He's more of a pacifist kind of person, doesn't really want to get involved in any fighting. And also, the way Sean Connery says the word junior, like normal people just say junior, but he says junior. It's so funny. I don't even know why it's funny, it just is. The villains are nothing too special. Like, it is interesting to have an American as a villain, to where we have an American who decided to betray his own country to, just like Belloc, get in bed with the Nazis. Elsa is certainly an interesting villain, the only female the first female villain in the series. And let's just say Elsa is pretty, if you know what I mean. the movie is about finding the Holy Grail, and that's what Henry Jones's entire life was about. That's what he spent his whole life pretty much doing, searching for the Holy Grail, and he ends up finding it with his son. Something he probably deep down always wanted to do. But Indy's the one who has to go through all the trials. The tank fights, the scenes on the tank, those were incredible. Those were really damn cool. Especially how Henry ends up on the tires of the tank, and Indy has to grab him with the whip to stop him from falling off. Something else that Uncharted definitely copied from Indiana Jones, if you remember in Uncharted 3 when Sully is hanging off the side of the truck and then Celine grabs him and pulls him onto the horse. Pretty much the exact same thing as Henry being saved, but by Salah. But yeah, this movie it is fantastic. Indy at the end, Indy having to go through those trials in order to reach the Holy Grail, and they find out that the only cup that can give eternal life is the least shiny and least pretty looking cup. Elsa giving one of the shiniest cups to Donovan, which gets him killed, and then Indy drinking the cup, the correct cup, where the Holy Grail Knight says about Donovan, he chose poorly, but Indy chose wisely. Then he gives the rest of the drink from the Holy Grail to Henry to save him. And as Henry, Indy, Salah, and Marcus Brody all ride off into the sunset on horses. And for the first time, Henry called Indy Indiana instead of Junior, to stop him from trying to grab the cup after Elsa walked too far away from where the cup was originally meant to stay, which gets her killed. But yeah, Henry saves Indy, and then the four of them ride off in literally into the sunset, with the Indiana Jones theme song playing over the credits. Literally the perfection of an ending. One of the best endings to any movie ever. Literal perfection to close out a trilogy. And that concludes my ranking of the 5 Indiana Jones movies from worst to best. If you guys have enjoyed, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new. Tell me your ranking of the 5 movies in the comments, and until we meet again, see you next time.